Stevie G,
CVG,
midfield maestro of
two,
Liverpool.
two wins
Wow.
out of two.
And he got that last win over in-form Patrick Vieira's team. What do you think about that?
Yep. No, I thought
Obviously, John McGinn with a
John McGinn.
quality
Yeah.
rimbatan yang bagus dari luar kotak penalty,
Yeah, for those who remember John McGinn at the Euros, I think Coca-Cola should finally come with a deal to him and say, hey, man, I think you should really sponsor us this time around. When he rejected Ronaldo's Coca-Cola.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Al and Jerry Football Podcast with me, Jerry, and my buddy Al.
How's everyone? And how's everything? I hope everybody's doing
What's up,
fine.
what's up? It's been a good week.
Yeah, it's been a
few
good
games,
week.
It's been a good, I guess, a sort of a resurrection a little bit for Arsenal. Ralf for Liverpool doing business as usual. 4-0 seems to be the current trend in their scorelines. Even Leicester with a good win against Watford. And Stevie G, Al, 2 wins on the bounce.
Stevie G, and I think we're going to be speaking about whether is it the Stevie G impact or is it the manager bounce that we all have come to know about. But I mean, great week of football. Great week of football.
Yeah, so many things to talk about, and match week 13, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, match week 13, obviously. So we'll definitely get into it. So before we get into the game of the weekend, obviously on paper, live and while the game was going on, obviously it was a bit of a slow game with Man United and Chelsea. But before I bring in Al to give us his analysis, so I'm just going to give you news that Ralf Rangnick, godfather of gegenpressing, as they say, has accepted interim role at Manchester United, effective soon. Obviously, once all the paperwork and everything is done. For those who don't know who Ralf Rangnick is, well, he was a very prominent German coach. But I think one of his biggest achievements was the rise of Red Bull Leipzig and Red Bull Salzburg. So he was sort of very responsible in that. Definitely, he had the funds to do that, and he had the funds to grow that team. But from where Leipzig was in the second division to where they are now, you can see a very, very big difference. Exactly. And one of the main ciri-ciri antara ciri-ciri, one of the main elements of the Leipzig team is the fact that they press and they press hard, and they're very good in attacking transition when it comes to counter-attacks. Very similar to a certain Jurgen Klopp, AL. Right. So I'm just going to read what he said on the coach's voice very briefly, and then you can just give me your thoughts and we'll cover the United game, right? So he says it's about controlling the game. We have, in fact, 5 situations in the meantime that decide football games. You need to have, as a coach, a very clear idea of how you want to play when we have the ball ourselves. So the first one is how you want to play when you have the ball and you want possession. Number 2 is what do we want to do if the other team has got the ball? What kind of game plan do I give my players when the other team has got the ball? Our idea is clear. It's very similar to my coaching friend Jurgen Klopp. Our Red Bull football is heavy metal, rock and roll. It's not a slow waltz. We hate square passes and back passes. Just having the ball ourselves doesn't make sense. Then we have the moment of transition. What happens when we lose the ball? What happens when we win the ball? This is number 3 and number 4. So when you lose the ball, there's a defensive transition. And when you win the ball, there's an offensive transition. So he's talking about those 2 transitions. Then, of course, we have set pieces. This is highly important. If 30% of the goals are being scored after set pieces, how much of a percentage of our training time should we invest in set pieces? Well, 30%, he said. It's about putting the other team under pressure, no matter how high up the pitch they are. The higher up, the better. But wherever the ball is, we try to win the ball back. So that's a little sort of brief sort of overview on his methods and what he wants to focus on now. So you can see very clearly he wants to focus on when they have the ball, right? When the offensive and defensive transitions happen. and obviously to focus on set pieces as well.
Yeah.
So that's the things. And I don't know, we've been saying for a long time that there was no clear idea. That seems like a pretty clear idea to me. I mean, he laid it out.
Yeah. It's so
Germans and their
elaborate.
efficiency, right? They just lay it out like
Yeah.
plain and simple. It's not even hard to understand. I think for anybody watching out there, I try to explain it the best way I can. It's very simple, but if you do want to check out what he said in the full video, go watch Coach's Voice where he speaks with the Sky Sports presenter. So Al, what do you think about all that?
Well, it's about time Man United started playing some heavy metal football, isn't it? I mean, at the
I don't think
moment,
Liverpool fans. I think Liverpool fans and other fans were pretty happy with the way United were playing. But I think it's really good news for United fans out there.
Yeah. No, I mean, Ralf Rangnick, and another thing, of course, just to mention, he has laid out the plan or one of the plans that Man United can try and replicate. But what he's done with Leipzig and Salzburg, those who of course know those teams and the rise of those teams in the Bundesliga, in European competitions. Rasenball, if we know them very
sport. Yeah,
Rasenball sport. I think it's one thing about the playing style which we've seen, because whilst they might not be setting a total era of dominance, but I think where their rise has come from in 2 years, 2.5, maybe 3 years, I think that's just fantastic. I think whether or not he does well at Man United, question mark, right? But I think we cannot disregard the opinion that this guy knows how to build a football club, which honestly I think is what probably Man United really need at the moment. He might not be coaching next season, but very, very well they need a plan, not just today, tomorrow, day after, but at least an elaborate long plan. And of course, speaking about Ralf Rangnick and how the Chelsea-Man United game panned out, right? Man United played with a sort of a different sort of formation. And of course, the big news was Ronaldo being dropped. And I did read a few journalists already picking up on the fact that, he could have been influencing Carrick and Fletcher in picking out a formation like this, because obviously the obvious one is Ronaldo being dropped. And we all know Ronaldo does not press, let alone gegenpress, right? So that obviously was a big one. And looking at the Chelsea-Man United game, I think you could already see a difference. I just think that the difference that we saw is just too new at the moment. It's like they want to press, they want to attack spaces, but they don't know how to do so. I did see a few touches of being intent or having some intent on the ball, but really not good enough. I think Thiago Silva and Rudiger were very, very covered in the first half. I don't think that United even troubled them. For that matter, even Chelsea were not really gung-ho in the first half. The first half
I felt the attack was quite blunt, Al, actually.
Yeah, they were quite
because
blunt.
There were times where Werner really didn't have, he didn't know what to do on the ball. He didn't make the right runs.
He was on the left, he wasn't in the middle.
It was until Mount and Pulisic came on where they looked dangerous.
They looked really dangerous. Correct. That's true. I totally agree with you. The first half was two teams trying to cancel each other out. Chelsea being protective whilst trying their luck from here and there, and shots from outside the box and things like that. United not getting a foot in the game, not really troubling, not getting in the Chelsea box. So it's basically a very cancelling sort of a feeling between the two teams. But lo and behold, the second half, Jorginho, right, getting a ball, which baffles me how he doesn't just head it back to the keeper or let it just fly past his head and go past the keeper. It baffles
takes
me
too
how
much time. Takes too much time.
It takes too much
time.
He
holds the ball and Jadon Sancho
he controls
the ball off him. Yeah.
Correct. He controls it, and Jadon Sancho, credit to Sancho lah. Two things that I can credit him for the second half, and especially that goal. He robs it off Jorginho, and confidence after the Villarreal game. Duck foots Mendy and just slots it into the net, and United fans in pandemonium, right? But of course, once that went in, Chelsea started being a lot more aggressive on the ball. You started seeing their fullbacks pushing higher. Reece James got into the game a lot more, and you almost felt as though the goal was coming, right? But something
and De Gea
controversial.
made many good saves actually.
He did.
He kept United in the game.
Yeah. On the basis of things, and I'm going to come and ask you this, Jerry. On the basis of things, I think Chelsea, the full-time result was deserved. Chelsea's goal were coming if you look at the whole course of things. But I just think the manner of which the penalty was given, and you know my thoughts on this live. I've shared the sentiments even before during the Liverpool Chelsea game, and I just feel that the rules these days in relation to handball, as well as being intent or non-intent in the box, like what Wan-Bissaka did, it's just very harsh on a defender. I just really, really feel if you're a defender, it's as though you don't clear the ball, the other player gets it, might just tucks it home. You clear the ball, the opposing player then falls down, and it's a penalty. And
it's like trying to defend in the box is like diffusing a bomb, like one wrong move,
exactly,
it all explodes.
Exactly. It doesn't look good on the replays. But then again, my point is, of course, the intent wasn't exactly there. I know Wan-Bissaka was looking to clear the ball, right?
Yeah.
It just so happens Thiago Silva came in front. Theoretically, you could say definitely it looks like a penalty, but I just think that because of the factor of intent, now that's again my concern, and because of that, obviously Chelsea equalized, and Chelsea looked set to win the game, right? But Timo Werner had a very good chance again, right? Had he gotten a little bit quicker than Wan-Bissaka, he could have fired it in. But we got to see Big Rom back. I honestly thought this is the stage set for Big Rom to score against his old club, but it was Antonio Rudiger that had that chance. My word, he skied it all over to the hold end, on the basis of things, perhaps you could say Chelsea were the more deserving to win the game. I thought they were with more intent and so on. But hey, not a bad result on the balance for both teams. I know Chelsea got Liverpool down their neck, but Chelsea hasn't beaten Man United. I think Chelsea's few games, last 5 games, I think, against Man United has not resulted in a win, and few of them were losses. So on the basis of things, I think Chelsea still look pretty on the top, right? And Man United, no more losses, didn't take the L home. So on the basis of things, I think fair result if you look at the whole course of the table.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a few things you touched on there. I think in the first half, right, it didn't seem like a full flowing game. I think it was quite a boring game.
Yes.
Albeit a few saves by De Gea, a few crucial saves by De Gea, really. From Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and I think was it Hudson-Odoi at one point.
Hudson-Odoi,
I think the second half started a lot more, I think, with a lot more intent. I do think, though, just to touch on what you mentioned at the start, I think Carrick, aside from Ralph influencing him or whoever, or his mom influencing him or dad influencing him, I mean, what I think is he went there to sort of steal a result, really, at Stamford Bridge. They weren't playing too open. I think United went there with the intention to hold the game as long as they can, and obviously try to steal a goal on the counter, which worked. And that is a solid game plan. That is a more logical game plan than trying to go all-out attack, for sure. And that was obviously the intention by playing Jadon Sancho and Marcus Rashford up top. They wanted them to break on the counter and see what they can do, really. And that's why I feel Jadon Sancho plays to his strengths. He's a direct winger. He attacks the ball. He runs into the spaces. If he wins the ball back, he's very dangerous when you give him space. And it's just that direct style from Jadon Sancho, which I feel suits his game, rather than putting him on the left wing and then making him cut in and try to shoot. I think I mentioned that before we started the recording. And it's a very Ronaldo-esque, left winger, traditional left winger, Neymar-esque way of playing. But I feel that's not Jadon Sancho's strength. I feel his strength is just being more direct. And that's what we saw the best of him in Dortmund. Regarding the penalty decision, I feel that nowadays when you're defending in the box, your touches have to be very, very careful. Like
Yeah,
there have
very
been so many
precise.
times where, in the Champions League, I think with Liverpool against Atletico Madrid, right? Griezmann was going for the ball with a high foot. He was looking at the ball, but then he ended up kicking Roberto Firmino in the face, which was a dangerous challenge. Yesterday wasn't a dangerous challenge. It was just sort of, it seemed like a clumsy,
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
a clumsy like passage of play there.
Mm.
But what I feel was that Thiago Silva was smart in the way he orchestrated that, because he knew the defender was going to go for the ball and he put his leg in front of the ball immediately, right? So I feel that's a little bit of dark arts, which Tuchel's teams are pretty good
Experience
at.
lah. The
Yeah,
experience. Yeah.
Because if you put your foot there before the defender's going to hit the ball, he's definitely going to kick your leg. Thiago Silva knows what's going to happen. Wan-Bissaka was soon to know what was going to happen. I think everybody in the stadium who truly properly watches that piece of play knows what's going to happen if Thiago Silva puts his leg in front of the ball. So what I feel is the referees could implement a thing where they penalize attackers for deliberately putting their leg in the way when they know this. Because Thiago Silva was not going to do like a Ronaldo-esque turn, Ronaldinho-esque turn and then slot the ball in the top corner. He was just purely putting his leg there.
He was waiting for
defender
contact.
hits him. Exactly. He's just attracting contact, which I feel could be penalized, but then you're going to open a can of worms up, obviously. So at this moment, I feel as a defender, you just have to, while you're watching the ball and the ball is coming from an elevated position towards you and you have to keep your eye on the ball, you also have to be aware of what's around you. If not, it's going to be that same situation, which I feel was unfortunate. I feel was harsh. But if you watch Tuchel's teams, and this is going to be, I think, a little bit of an element of Thomas Tuchel's teams, is they're very good at the dark arts. They know how to win fouls. They know how to push players off the ball that doesn't seem so aggressive. They really know how to make the most out of certain situations, right? 50-50 situations. They know how to like basically win those 50-50 situations very quickly, and they're very smart as well. I think Thomas Tuchel's team, aside from technical ability, I think they're very intelligent players, and they've been intelligently set up. They've been intelligently set. And I do feel once Ralf Rangnick comes in, I think United will be a lot more sharper, right? I think Wan-Bissaka will be in that situation under someone like Ralf Rangnick. I think he, with the training, with the advice, with the tactics, with the style of play, I think they will be a lot more sharper, a lot more concentrated, aware of their surroundings. And I think they'll definitely make decisions a little bit more, I think make better decisions when it comes to, having a clear style of play and everything. So aside from that, I feel it was points dropped for Chelsea. You could obviously see Rudiger's reaction and Tuchel's reaction after the match, right?
Yeah, certainly. They would have liked the 3 points. They would have definitely liked the 3 points. Yeah, but it's still top, I think. So I think that's for Chelsea fans, at least a small little silver lining.
Yeah, looks like goal scoring defense FC tried yesterday, but ultimately none of their defenders could get on the score sheet. So we have a running joke that Chelsea's goal scoring defense FC, because their defenders seem to be the ones getting the goal right off. Yeah. So moving on, I guess the next game we should cover will be the Liverpool and Southampton game.
Yeah. Goal scoring attackers here, definitely.
Our good friend, Mr. Jurgen Klopp. I watched the Liverpool game. Obviously.
Yeah, what do you think, Jerry?
I think it was a pretty solid game all out in terms of the attack, especially, and just the efficiency of that attack. But I did feel there were moments where Liverpool were defensively vulnerable, especially with Ibrahim Konate there in the team, because I think what Jurgen Klopp wants to do, from what I've seen of Liverpool of the recent weeks, is that he wants to rotate Matip and Konate, right? And keep Van Dijk there as sort of the
anchor.
The anchor for that. And it was a very efficient game, especially from that left-hand side, because it seems like Andy Robertson came back with a vengeance,
Yeah,
I mean,
he's back on form, lah. You know, that cross to Jota for the first goal, wasn't it? I thought it was a peach. It was fantastic. And you know, Liverpool really. You know, I watched this game and I'm thinking, yeah, you just mentioned a bit of a worry, a negative point, but very rarely I thought Southampton troubled them. There was one chance. There was one chance. I think Liverpool were cut open a little bit. Yeah, exactly. And if he had finished it better, there could have been a goal for Southampton. But other than that, you know, Jerry, I'm looking at Liverpool. I'm thinking, they look pretty damn good, lah. I mean, it's seriously
in terms of getting goals and attacking.
Very.
I think there still needs to be a little bit improvement on the defense, right? So Alisson Becker's first year, where he won, I think 13 or 15 clean sheets, I think that year, we looked. I mean, Liverpool looked really defensively solid. So there's definitely a lot to be done to try get back to the best, but I think with Van Dijk, there's definitely a bit of a calmer presence.
Yeah, rock solid, lah. You know, he's rock solid.
That was one thing I noticed. Definitely, I think Klopp managed that left back situation well. He dropped Robertson when he was not playing well. Got the best out of Costa Tsimikas. Costa Tsimikas, his last game was Porto. His form was a little bit up and down, so he decided to bring in Robertson, right? Give Robertson that rest and bring him in, because ultimately he is the older, more experienced player, more mature player, captain of Scotland. So he would fit into the team well. And Costa Tsimikas, I think, has a lot of room to grow in this Liverpool team. And he has definitely earned his place in the team and being a very good deputy left back, right? But one of the things I wanted to mention was Diogo Jota, because when Liverpool signed Diogo Jota, a lot of people already assigned a role to him. Like he was going to play on the bench, he was going to be, you know, the fourth striker. He will be a super sub and everything like that. And he would support them rather than get the goals. It'll be Salah and Mane with the goals. But it looks now that Diogo Jota is having an eye for goal, right? I would say that Klopp has converted him into like a very efficient striker, because he anticipates the ball well. He runs into the channels, right? He opens up space, especially when the other three are running at defenders. He holds the ball up well. He knows when to turn. He knows when to shoot. He knows when to pass. So he's sort of becoming, I think Klopp is turning him into sort of a very, trying to get him into becoming a complete striker. And for someone of Diogo Jota's height, he actually gets on a lot of headers, which I feel is quite impressive, to be honest.
Yeah, his timing. That means the timing of his runs, timing of his jumps.
What was really funny about the Diogo Jota thing, though, Al, was that he was playing a PlayStation tournament, right?
Oh, yeah. No
FIFA
wonder the
PlayStation tournament. Yeah. And he had to postpone another game and just so he could make it in time for the match. But he scored in 2 minutes and did that PlayStation celebration. It's just like, you know, it's like he's playing for fun. And I think that's what you want to see with a lot of attackers. Not a lot of pressure, just play for fun and enjoy playing, you know, for football. Enjoy playing in the Premier League. And it looks like Sadio Mane, Mo Salah, and Diogo Jota with a new kid there, new guy amongst these two vets, almost vets in that way. I mean, they're getting to their 30s. It looks like even they're having fun with having someone that is young and fresh and willing to do the running. And I think he suits Liverpool's play very well. And plaudits go to Diogo Jota, especially Thiago, Fabinho, and Henderson with that midfield. I think ultimately decided the game. What I have to say is Ralf Hasenhüttl went with a different formation this week, right? And it didn't really work out, and the press jumped on him. But what he said in the post match was that Liverpool is really in a good way right now, you know. And he said he can't name a team in the world that would come to Anfield and not suffer to a certain extent. He did try to do something new with the 3-4-3 formation there, and didn't really work out. But I think there was more to Liverpool sort of being lethal, you know, in their attack, taking the chances rather than Southampton suffering there in that sense. But, you know, I think it was a good game all around. And I think what the players would appreciate more of that game is the clean sheet.
Liverpool attacked the spaces really, really well. I think I saw that a lot on Saturday. And you know, you mentioned Diogo Jota, and I'm thrilled for him. And I'm just thinking, I've got one thing on my mind when I hear Diogo Jota, and that's African Cup of Nations. And I don't know how much he's going to be helping Liverpool during that time, because, you know, honestly, I I'd be the first to say, this is good backup for Mane, Firmino, and Salah. But it looks like next to Salah, I think you'd go with him, isn't it? You'd go with Jota.
Yeah.
You'd go
So
with
he's
Jota.
got 7 goals. He and Sadio Mane have got 7 goals, and Salah's got 11. Salah's got 11 goals, right? Obviously, Firmino has to get back to match fitness, and it will take a while for him to come back.
Yeah.
But I do think both Firmino and Jota could play, right? 2 strikers as 2 strikers up top, and with 4 midfielders behind them. So Klopp might play a formation which is 4-3-3 that converts into a sort of 4-4-2, right?
Yeah.
A hybrid 4-4-2, I would say. But obviously we wouldn't know. We can speculate as much as we want, but we wouldn't know until the situation comes. But what I feel would help Liverpool if Sadio and Mane and Mo Salah were to go for their African Cup of Nations is to actually try out Firmino and Jota in a 4-4-2 formation where they both play up top,
Right,
because you will still have the width of the fullbacks and maybe Chamberlain on the right side of the midfield and someone else on the left, maybe Henderson maybe on the left where they can run, right? And Thiago and Fabinho there in the middle forming a sort of a double pivot. I think it would work really well, really. I think it would open up more space for Trent Alexander-Arnold and maybe Oxlade-Chamberlain to run on that right flank, right? And that's where Jota and Firmino can really wreak havoc in the middle there and really get into the penalty box.
I think the key, if you're going to go with a 4-4-2, sort of like a morph of a 4-3-3,
hybrid 4-4-2,
the key aspects of this kind of formation to make the boxes tick, I think Thiago and Fabinho have got to be A game. I always look at the left, right, and straight of a midfielder's eyes into just dictating play. And I think Thiago is hitting a sense of form at the moment. It's 2 goals in 2, isn't it? So he's definitely the orchestra, the conductor of the orchestra, if they sort of do this sort of formation. But hey, I mean, Liverpool, just really positives all around for them, definitely.
Yeah. So I guess that's what we got. Both of us got out of that analysis of the Liverpool game. But do tell us what you think, United fans, Chelsea fans, Liverpool. So far, it seems that Man City, Chelsea, and Liverpool are 3 contenders, and we're going to move on to Man City. So Al, what did you think about yesterday's formation? Because it was a very weird front three, really. Because so before the match yesterday, right, it was Sterling in the middle, Mahrez on the right, Jesus on the right and Mahrez on the left.
Jesus on the right, Mahrez on the
That was on Sky Sports, because I streamed the match yesterday and it was on Sky Sports page. But when I look at Google here, it says Riyad Mahrez in the middle, Raheem Sterling on the left, and Jesus on the right, right? But there were so many times yesterday where I saw Sterling on the left, Mahrez on the right, Jesus in the middle, and then sort of Mahrez on the left, Sterling in the middle, Jesus on the right. So I don't know what Guardiola is doing, what voodoo magic he's doing with that front three there. But I noticed this a lot in recent weeks. It's like he doesn't care who he puts in those front three positions. And
they keep on changing.
The name of the game is to keep rotating and changing, right? I wanted your thoughts on that and overall thoughts on the City match. Obviously, Gundogan, I feel he's a real clutch player for that City team, really. And I think really.
I think City first half were very dominant. I think Riyad Mahrez, if he had been on side, there would have been a very well taken goal they scored. I thought that was really well done on his part, of course, unfortunately offside. But I mean, City formation wise, it's chop and change, in game chop and change. And I think it's more of, look, I'm going to come on to this side, you go on to that side. Defenders getting a bit tired. I see a weakness. I'm going to attack this side of the area. The middle, Jesus went to the middle. Then, of course, I even saw Mahrez in the middle at one point. And I mean, Sterling playing in the middle is classic Guardiola, isn't it? And this is what Pep does. I think.
But I think Sterling was predominantly occupying that space on the left, right? Because a lot of times he would push very high left, hold his position, and then they would just spray out the ball to him. That was the game plan.
Yeah. I thought West Ham were very much nullified. They could not really cause damage to Man City, and I think credit to Man City. I thought Man City kept them quiet large parts of the game. I know obviously Lanzini got that good goal at the end, and
there
you
was
could see
one
Edison.
chance for Said Benrahma in the first half, right? But he took an heavy touch instead of shooting first time. So it was Antonio who passed the ball to him, and he was right in front of goal. If he had taken a first time shot, it could have troubled Edison. But aside from that, there weren't many chances. I think Said Benrahma had the best chance of the first half.
Yeah, no, I mean City. I was actually thinking that West Ham might give it a good fight against Man City. I thought, I was actually thinking of a draw for this game. I thought West Ham would come and cause a few upsets. But first half, I think Guardiola, you could see that whilst there was the chop and change that was happening in the front three, I thought Guardiola had warned his players, don't let West Ham time on the ball to break onto you, because they're very good at that. Benrahma especially, Benrahma. So I think they did that very well. I thought Fernandinho was fantastic also, as usual, in that solid anchor like defensive role.
He came on in the second half, right?
And obviously he got the goal, and Lanzini got that goal, which I could see Edison was very disappointed. Didn't want to concede. But Man City equally dominant display given the conditions, the snow. It was football as well. And I'm thinking, man, aren't you freezing, man? I think looking at the conditions, I tell you, but
it's comfortable watching from all our warm houses. This
HDTV. Exactly.
But,
from a Malaysian
perspective. Some Brazilians might be asking themselves, what the hell did they sign up to? What they're doing here? But it was it was very much like a 100-mile-an-hour, like high-speed winter wonderland with the way City was pressing and playing.
Exactly.
But one thing I noticed, Al, about which is very very descriptive of Klopp's teams and Guardiola's teams, right? Because Guardiola, he loves the ball. He loves to keep the ball. He's like, he doesn't want to give the ball away to anybody. Nobody can have the ball except me, Pep. But he like to play that possession style. So I noticed when they're playing out from the back, right? As soon as the ball gets into West Ham's half, so City's attacking half, as soon as Laporte or either Ruben Diaz pass the ball forward, they are taking steps forward, and they're pushing up so high. It's like I never see them retreat. I constantly see that defense pushing high,
very high line,
pushing high. And West Ham couldn't exploit that. I felt that they could have tried to exploit that, but the way City were doing it, it's like they were so efficient in the way they did that. That's what allows them to nullify these counter-attacking teams, because not only do they keep the ball, but they push very high. So you have to fall back and keep your formation tight so that you can hold. Because at most points of the game, right, there's 20 players playing in that City attacking half, which is West Ham's defensive half, which is a big element there. It's like every time the defenders pass the ball forward, they're constantly taking steps forward. They're never moving back, which is ultimately a big thing there about Klopp's teams. Because the thing with Chelsea, what I saw is they do take their time when playing out from the back, right? And it has to be and they do rely on the flanks a lot more. But the way Man City manage that midfield and the way they get the attackers into the game is something that I definitely notice is a little bit better than the way Chelsea does it. I think Chelsea struggled to get their front three into the game. But the way City rotate that front three, right? And the whole team sort of supports that movement up forward, right? It's just that City have been defensively vulnerable a little bit this season, a lot more. And Chelsea's defense have really bailed them out. So it's very interesting to see. And obviously, you've got the Liverpool boys who are the top firing boys up there in the league right now, with 3 top scorers, leading the charts sort of. So it's a very interesting season. Ultimately, it could be the defense that wins them the league, or it might be a season where goals wins them the league. It's very interesting, lining up very
you can't tell, because the way they're performing, the 3 of them, they're dominant in their own ways, and I think Chelsea are a little bit more patient, and I thought Ben Chilwell was a big miss for them, which is why their fullback play was not exactly that potent. But Man City, I think you're right. West Ham could have exploited that, but they just could not get the ball. I think that was the big problem. They just could not get a foot on the game. And I realized that the front three of Man City, they might be switching positions. But say, for instance, when Mahrez goes into the right, it's doing of the same things. It's the same duties, the same attacking play, the same style, the same, the same findings, the same everything in terms of attacking. It's just fantastic to watch Man City. Like, it's almost telepathic the way they play. It doesn't matter whether Sterling's on the left or in the middle. He does make the runs. He does, follow into space. And, these three teams could be one of the best 3-horse races that we've gotten in the Premier League. I mean, everybody's firing well.
Yeah. And you could see Thomas Tuchel just crumpling to the floor there in agony almost at the missed chance. So you can see how much it means to him as well. I think one of the things that's helped Thomas Tuchel and that Chelsea team is just his fresh enthusiasm, and that basically what Klopp had when he first came and Guardiola had when he first came. And I think they are looking over at Thomas Tuchel and seeing like, oh wow, okay, he wants to bring the game. Let's give him a good game. It's sort of like very interesting dynamic there between the three top coaches right now in the Premier League.
Yeah, and it's fantastic to watch. I mean, really, really interesting.
So aside from that, obviously, there are a few honorable mentions. I think we're going to be checked for time soon. So I wanted to ask you quickly, Al, if you can tell me. Obviously, we won't go too in-depth into it because we haven't seen enough, but Stevie G. Midfield maestro of Liverpool.
2 wins out of 2.
And he got that last win over in-form Patrick Vieira's team. What do you think about that?
Yeah. No, I thought
obviously John McGinn with
John McGinn
quality rimbatan yang bagus dari luar kotak penalty,
Yeah, for those who remember John McGinn at the Euros, I think Coca-Cola should finally come with a deal to him and say, man, I think you should really sponsor us this time around. When he rejected Ronaldo's Coca-Cola. Anyways, but Stevie G. One thing I'll say I was impressed with Aston Villa was that they were solid and they didn't let Crystal Palace, a really very well-drilled pressing team. I thought Patrick Vieira's tactics have been very positive so far. They didn't let Palace play so much. And I thought this was a difference that we saw in Villa and how they were in their previous managers. So credit to Steven Gerrard and Aston Villa for that, for sure. And getting 2 goals, and winning the game, an away game. Let's not forget, Crystal Palace were very dominant when they went to Emirates, and this is not any pushover by any strike of the imagination. So, and of course, getting a win, fantastic for Aston Villa. But of course, as we all know, Jerry, could be just the old curious tale of new manager bounce, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I was thinking, because when I'm looking at the stats here, right? So Villa had 36 possession compared to Crystal Palace 64 possession. So Crystal Palace had 577 passes to Villa's 340 passes, right? But Villa had more shots, right? And they definitely had they were the more attacking threat. I think Crystal Palace didn't seem to have a proper chance. There was a chance by Zaha there in the first half, which he blasted it wide. And then it didn't seem like they had much chances actually until that the ball broke to Guehi and he scored the goal at the dying embers of the match there. But what Steven said at the end of his press conference was that there's still a lot of work to be done. They're nowhere near their best. But the most important thing is that they are getting results. And I think if you're still trying to implement your tactics, if your team is not the finished article, I think a big positive is to still be able to grind the result out and get the result. And that's what I felt that Gerrard did. And they do seem a little bit, but obviously it's that honeymoon period for him. So we'll see how it goes. And obviously all eyes will be on him at the end of the Premier League season. So other honorable mentions go to Brentford against Everton. Everton just can't seem to catch a break out. It's been I think 6 losses or something like that.
And end of the days for Benitez, I think I can already see.
I think the Liverpool, the Anfield
that might be the
derby
final
this week, that might be very decisive
nail in the coffin.
game there. Yeah, because funnily enough, actually, Ivan Toney getting his first goal at home this season. So all his goals have come away. So that's his first goal at home. I think a very good milestone for him. I think he definitely want to get his home Premier League goal as soon as he can. I think he hopes he can kick on from there. Obviously, the other 2 honorable mentions go to Leicester City with a very convincing win, I would say. I think Maddison was man of the match, and really it looked like Maddison was back to his best. And I think Leicester gave Ranieri a very good reception. You know, he walked in,
it was nice to see.
Applauded him.
Nice to see,
But I think the Leicester players wanted to show him that, you know, we are your Leicester boys now. We are your title winning team. Don't forget that, you know. Because Vardy with 2 well taken goals, and Maddison really with obviously that first goal. I felt Ekong allowed that ball to bounce, you know, when the ball fell to Maddison, but with a good finish all the same. And Vardy with really 2 incredible finishes. One a floating header, and I think his first goal was a shot, if I'm not mistaken.
I think they've been due a solid performance like this.
Whatever it is defensively, I think Leicester have been more defensively vulnerable this season, but their attack is going to be the one to bail them out, and they're going to have to rely on their attack. And I think Maddison is going to start to have to take a big role in this team, because if he can become that out and out, week in, week out, top performer, playmaker for that Leicester team, I think, because there have been many matches this season where I've seen Maddison, he just seems off. You know, he seems off it. And yesterday he really turned it on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And when he does, Leicester just plays, isn't it?
Exactly.
I've always seen it.
Exactly. Moving on to our last, obviously, I'll just read to you some of the other scorelines. So there's a few 0-0s there. Leeds and Brighton was a 0-0. Obviously, I think more disappointing for Brighton. Norwich and Wolves was a 0-0 as well. Wolves have been flying recently. And now Norwich suddenly keeping clean sheets out of nowhere else. It seems like Norwich as well having a little bit of
what happened? Renaissance for Norwich.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess we'll end with the Arsenal. Arsenal, let's see. Obviously reeling from that spanking that Arteta got from Klopp the other day. Definitely back to their old solid ways with a clean sheet. I think Arsenal fans would appreciate that. But I saw after the Liverpool game, sorry, just to quickly after the Liverpool game, so a lot of fans were Aubameyang's back. They feel that he didn't do enough for the Liverpool game, right? Even at this game, I felt he was a little bit quiet. But
he should have taken that chance.
Gabriel Martinelli came on
what a goal.
After a long time. And it was a really good goal. Instinctive. He was in the striking position. Should it be about time that Martinelli gets some minutes in the team now? What do you think about that?
No, I thought very well taken goal, very well taken control, very decisive, and fantastic to see ball from Tomiyasu. And I mean he should be getting his minutes. I think he's more than talented enough. I think he gives an Arsenal that different dimension that sometimes Aubameyang doesn't give. Arsenal Aubameyang drifts to the left and to the right a little bit more, and at least with Martinelli, I think you're going to get a bit more directness. But come on, Jerry, I think Newcastle really. I'm not taking any shine away from Arsenal's win, obviously, but Newcastle were poor, man. I mean, they were poor. I thought Almiron came on and Newcastle did look a little bit more lively, but Eddie Howe's got some serious work to do, man. Otherwise, it's just going to be Division 1.
Yeah. And you're going to be the richest club in the world. You're going to be the richest club in the world, and at the same time, the richest club in the championship.
Good one.
A little bit of bad. So they're going to have to, save all the oil money till when they return. So it's going to be an interesting course of events. And now the fixtures are going to come hard and fast. So there's going to be weekday matches this week, and followed by weekend matches. And it's going to be a very busy December period with the last round of the group stage in Champions League. So we'll try to bring you up to speed on all news, all things football, all things Premier League. So that's been all from me, Jerry, and my buddy L. See you
Ciao,
guys.
guys. See you all
Thank
soon.
you.
We are out of here.
Take care.
Take care.
Godspeed.
Take care.